Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Stock Market Today. My name is Ken Shreve, joined by Ed Carson on today's show. As usual, we'll talk about today's market action. Looked like we were going to try to rally into the close. We did get a close in the middle, up in the upper half of its range for the S&P 500, but we did end lower ahead of a key decision on interest rates tomorrow by the Federal Reserve. Ed has got three stocks to watch, so I'll throw it over to you, Ed. What do you got?
Well, we're going to take a look at Neurocrene Biosciences, Wolfspeed, and Impinj. Just keep in mind these are stocks showing relative strength, but it's relative strength in a very weak market.
Okay, one biotech stock and two chip stocks that are showing strength. All right, well, let's first start by taking a look at the Nasdaq composite here. Let me get up this chart here. QC. We'll see the Nasdaq ended with a loss of just under 1% or so. It closed probably right in the middle half of its range. Ed, what are we thinking about this market? Friday we had a close near session highs. Monday we closed off lows. We closed off lows a little bit today. So there seems like there are some buyers around ahead of the Fed decision tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll see. But I mean, I think it's probably a good news that the market didn't rally into the Fed meeting. I mean, the last two times we had very Fed heavy news, Fed Chief Powell's speech I think on August 26th, and then the CPI report last week, we were rallied into it, and that did not work out well for the market. So, we're in a downtrend, we're in a correction, we're below 10-day moving averages. I think until you see the market really rebound, get above the 50-day line, you're not really going to have much of it. Don't want to be doing much. And even then, it's probably going to be a while before we get clarity on the Fed. And that seems to be what we really need. And that's probably not, I mean, we'll get some idea of how high they're going to go. But until we start feeling like, yes, the Fed is actually going to slow rate hikes, then it's hard to see the market making a big advance.
Okay, well, taking a look at the S&P 500 down 1.1% on the day. You can see here the S&P actually undercut Friday's low, which we were watching. So maybe the S&P's poised for a trip down to the 3,800 level. Ed, is there any chance that the Fed is not going to sound hawkish tomorrow?
I can't imagine it. I mean, maybe relatively. I mean, maybe they'll sound like, well, we're only going to raise rates to just over 4%, and people are maybe expecting 4.5 by the middle of next year. I mean, but it's going to be hawkish. The Fed has sort of learned its lesson. Any time Fed Chief Powell gave any hint of being dovish, the market rallied and went into a frenzy. You're sort of in that Dumb and Dumber. So you're saying there's a chance kind of rally.
Right.
That's not what the Fed wants to see. So, I mean, could we bounce because we've been falling for quite a bit? We certainly could, but I don't think that's necessarily, a go signal for the market. I'm sure the Fed doesn't want to do that.
All right. Well, start by taking a look at the Dow Jones Industrial Average, also down 1% on the session. Last check, we had slightly higher volume on the Nasdaq, slightly lower volume on the NYSE. So we can see the Dow Jones here down 1%, and the IWM small cap tracking ETF looks like that was down a little over 1.3% or so. So it's a challenging market. Again, the possibility of a tradable rally for the Nasdaq. Maybe the market is going to like what the Fed has to say. Maybe that could lift us to the 4,000 level. But we've been talking about these overhead supply issues for the market. You can see the 50-day moving average for the S&P 500, just above that 4,000 level. So times are still challenging, and we're one of our gauges for a good market is seeing which are there good stocks out there to buy, and it still seems like there's slim pickings, Ed, in that vein.
Yeah, and I just want to make market could rally, but there's not a lot of downside resistance. And it wouldn't take a lot to get us to the June lows. I mean, that's still a risk that we could test or undercut the lows. I mean, we've got some work to do there, and there's a couple spots we might stop at, but it wouldn't take much to get down back to those levels again. So I think investors have to gauge the risk. There seems to be a lot of limited upside, while still a fair amount of downside risk.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, risk reward certainly slanting out of individual investors' favor at this point. But we'll see how the market responds tomorrow to the policy statement at 2 p.m. Eastern time. All right. Well, three stocks to watch. First one we'll take a look at today is ticker NBIX. This is a leaderboard stock, Neurocrine Biosciences. What do you see in the chart here, Ed?
It's got a flat base. I mean, this has held up pretty well. It's been finding support lately at the 21-day line, aside from one very brief dip to the 50-day line, which turned out to be a bullish day. The RS line, blue dot. I mean, so it is doing very well in this environment. It's basically at a base on base, relative strength line at a new high, almost at a buy point, which is pretty incredible given how poorly the market has been acting.
Yeah, and there were buyers in the stock today. You can see the stock closed in the upper half of its range, closed above 107. So pretty solid day for NBIX, and it really has turned into a stock pickers market in the biotech space. If we just look quickly at IBB, one of the benchmark biotech ETFs, you can see that this one has been struggling below its 200-day, 50-day moving averages. But there are stocks like NBIX that continue to show relative strength in this market. All right, moving on, we're going to take a look at Wolfspeed, WOLF. Not much good news in the chip sector these days, but there are a handful of chip stocks that are looking pretty strong here, including Wolfspeed, Ed.
Yeah, so it declined today, but that's after a nice move yesterday where it sort of tried to clear this consolidation, this short consolidation, which you could sort of see as, a line across to a whole lot of trading activity, almost see it as a handle to a larger consolidation. The RS line has been hitting new highs, really been doing well. It's an EV-focused chip maker, so Wolf and onsemi, these are a couple of those EV-focused chip makers. Definitely different from just about everything else in the semi group right now. I mean, but there is one other in there that's not in the EV space, but definitely one to certainly be watching for sure.
Yeah, Wolfspeed, formerly known as Cree, like you said, a big presence in the EV market, and this stock tried to clear a buy point yesterday. Typically, this is the type of technical setup that can yield nice gains. But when you're in a market that's under distribution, you're in a market that's in a correction. These patterns sometimes can take a little while to play out.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on, let's finally take a look at Impinj. PI is the symbol here. Is there EV exposure with this stock as well, Ed?
No, I do not believe so. This one does RFID tracking chips, and well, this is finding its way fairly well. It's finding support at the 21-day line. It's also finding support at the 10-week line. In a few days, or maybe probably at the end of this week, it will have a base that's just a little bit too deep for a flat base, but it'll have a new base with a 99.10 buy point. I suppose if it got above this recent action the last few days, you could probably get an early entry off of that in the 10-week line. Again, I mean, to get a little pop and the market's up for a day or two, you have to think about any of these names. Do you really want to be buying in that environment? Yeah, the market could get a bounce, and some of these names will flash buy signals, but I think investors have to be very cautious about anything. But it's definitely nice action. The RS line has been screaming higher for several months.
Yeah, pretty good accumulation as this stock started to climb the right side of this cut base, and we're seeing a classic first test of the 10-week moving average here. So Impinj also looking strong, as well as Wolfspeed, and in the biotech sector, NBIX, which we looked at earlier. All right, well, there's probably going to be a lot of fireworks in the stock market tomorrow. 2 p.m. Eastern time is the Fed policy statement. They are expected to raise rates by 75 basis points. Fed funds futures traders are leaning towards another 75 basis points in November, but there's a lot of economic data between now and then, so it's no sure thing, but 75 basis points looks likely tomorrow. The question is, how is the market going to react to the news? We'll have all the coverage tomorrow at investors.com, and don't forget, IBD Live is on the road for in New York for 2 days on Wednesday and Thursday. The show is going to start at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. This is the Market Watch Best New Ideas Money Festival. You can get more information at moneyfestival.marketwatch.com. But Ali, Chris, Justin, Harold will be doing the show live from New York on Wednesday and Thursday. So you can, like I said, get more information at moneyfestival.marketwatch.com. Thanks very much, Ed, for your input as usual. And Ed and I will be back here tomorrow for another edition of Stock Markets Today. Thanks very much for watching. We'll see you back here tomorrow.